Hello everybody, my name is Sniping is Fun, and I welcome all of you back to this next character, the 6th official character in the Super Smash Bros. 5 Newcomer Speculation Character Idea series of videos. We've already talked about the likes of Shovel Knight, Paper Mario, Bomberman, Rex and Pyra, and Dixie Kong. Today, as I stated in the Dixie Kong video, for the 6th official character is a certain villain-esque dragon character that people ask for a whole heck of a lot, and have asked for pretty much since the days of Super Smash Bros. Melee, and that character is, and you should see the thumbnail, but I might update this and whatnot in the name of the video, so it's already spoiled for you, but I'm going to introduce this character anyways. It's Ridley, the space pirate from the Metroid franchise. Okay, just like always, 3 different categories. Why does the character make sense for Super Smash Bros. 5? What would be moveset ideas, and the percentage chance I could see them getting into Smash Bros. 5. Why does Ridley make sense? First and foremost, it's pretty quite simple actually. He is like, besides Samus, he is the most iconic character and most, used character from the Metroid franchise. He's been in since day one. He's been in since the original Metroid on the NES, and has been in practically every single entry since then. He is the iconic villain of the series, and quite frankly, is maybe a smidge above Mother Brain at this point. But yeah, Ridley is the penultimate villain pretty much in the series. The villain that always comes back from death. The villain that even after being killed in Super Metroid returns in Other M and pretty much brought back Samus's PTSD and so on and so forth, and has been a major character in the series, and it has made sense for him to be in Super Smash Bros. At least since Brawl. I can understand not in the original because there's only so few characters, in Melee because Super Metroid was the last game in the Metroid franchise. But since Brawl and Smash Bros. 4, you had the likes of the Metroid Prime series, Metroid Other M, and various Fusion and whatnot, where he's showed up a whole lot. And right now, the new game is he's pretty much in Return of Samus. He's the one. They added him to Return of Samus, the remake of Metroid 2, Samus Returns from the Game Boy. Now with the 3DS version, they added him as the final boss in that game, which he was never there before. So he must have been that important for them to add him to the remake. And there is a chance he's probably more than likely going to show up in Metroid Prime 4 whenever that does release, because he's been in all 3 of them so far. So there's that. Like, he's a long-standing villain in the series since pretty much day one. He's popular and requested for, but like I stated before, I don't take popularity and demand and requests and whatnot from, gamers and people and fans and the customer over, recency, relevancy, and push from the company. But the thing is, he has all those. He's been in a lot of the recent Metroid games. He's still pushed by the company in all the recent Metroid games, and he's still relevant to all the recent, Metroid games. So he still has that recency, that relevancy, that push from the company, alongside popularity and demand from fans to be in Smash Bros. For as long as he has been. It's been, what, like 18 years since they've been asking for him? 17 years? So that's the reason why I feel he makes sense. He makes sense because he is popular and requested for, but I don't take that as the ultimate reason for a character in Smash Bros. There's characters that are super requested for, and their recency and relevancy are... But there's characters that are super relevant but not super demanded for, and there's characters that meet in the middle that have both, and there's characters that have neither and have neither. But like I said, I don't value request and popularity and demand over relevancy and recency, because I think that kind of affects the roster, and I think characters should be affected more by how the company utilizes them and how often they utilize them over, the fans request stuff, because that could just lead to a hodgepodge of a roster. And I'm sorry if you guys disagree with me on that, but I kind of see it that way. I do have my wish list of characters, but I don't really agree with that, per se, just to pick characters just because they're wanted, just because they're popular, because then the roster just feels like a hodgepodge mess. And every Smash Bros. Roster so far feels like all the characters, the veterans returning, the newcomers, kind of coexist together and fit. Like, it seems like Sakurai has like a pattern, like a plan when he puts the rosters together, and all the characters fit together. But like I said, he's popularly requested for. He's a long-standing character, iconic character from the Metroid series since day one, and he's still utilized in the series now, with the likes of Other M about 8 years ago. He was added into the remake of Samus 2 on the 3DS, and there's a chance he's going to be in Metroid Prime 4. So he is still very relevant and still very recent enough in the Metroid series. His moveset, it's kind of basic. I think it would be like the smash attacks would basically him attacking with his tail, swinging his tail around, doing dagger tail attacks and everything like he did like in Super Metroid, the Prime series, and then other M, like various tail attacks, swinging his attacks, just daggering, like pointing his tail out and stabbing you with it, stuff like that, and doing some claw attacks, maybe grabbing the opponent, flying up with them, maybe, and throwing them down with a claw attack, scratching them with his claws and whatnot. It's not very interesting, but like I've said before, the smash attacks are never really the most interesting part of a character's moveset in Smash Bros. There's always like the special attacks and the final smashes and whatnot. But yeah, like you see, like you can't really see in this picture, but the tail, he would swing the tail and stab you with the tail, and then grab you with the claws, fly up the stage, maybe throw you with the claws, or slash at you with the claws. That'd be his smash attacks. It's pretty basic, but that's kind of how Ridley attacks you in the games. Special attacks was kind of interesting because it would be the flying part. Like he'll use his wings. He might use a gust of air and fly up and float across the stage. Maybe he'll be kind of like one of those characters that has like a floating ability, except his is flying. So maybe he has at least a limited, because if you give him unlimited air to fly around, it's very cheap and it's unfair. So he has to have a certain limit to how often he can fly. And maybe he can fly around the stage using the B button, using the special attacks, and maybe those can sometimes hurt people because you fly past them and you just run into them when you do it and you damage them. Or you can flap your wings and maybe it causes a gust of air that sends them, if they're close enough, they get damaged, but if they're far enough, maybe they just get sent flying away a little bit, depending on their their percentage of damage, stuff like that. And obviously the main thing he normally always does, fire. He shoots fireballs, he shoots flames, he shoots blue flames, red flames, he shoots different types of fire attacks. So I think the special attacks, on top of focusing on his wings, should be, for flying, should focus on like his face, his mouth, and him shooting flames or shooting fireballs. And maybe you could charge it up. Maybe it could be a charge thing where it's like, if you do it normally, you just get normal fireballs, but if you hold it and you charge the B button, fire can come out and just burn your opponent. That's something like that. And for the final smash, it kind of, because, you could probably think of another final smash that might actually fit him better, but I think it has to be Meta Ridley. He has to have a transformation into Meta Ridley, and you can either do it like how in Brawl, when Samus turns into Zero Suit Samus, it's legit, or it's like a Giga Bowser thing where it's limited. I don't really care, but turning the Meta Ridley, he just, like, you see him probably explode off screen, and then the screen fades black, and then you see him fly back up, and he's all metal, and I'm Metal Ridley, and fear me. And, and then maybe his damage goes up and stuff like that, so he'll either be limited, and he just has the for about like a minute or so, has like the armor on him, and it just increases his damage, increases his agility and whatnot. Or you can make it kind of like like the Zero Suit Samus transformation in Smash Bros. Brawl, where it was permanent until you transform again. Then maybe he just transforms back, which makes it that kind of useless, because why would you want to get the final smash again when you're Meta Ridley? Kind of cheap. So yeah, make it limited, and then the screen just disappears, and he just reappears as himself, because he always seems to in the games come back from Meta Ridley to be a normal Ridley, then he goes back to Meta Ridley again. There's like no continuity there. It seems like he always comes back to be human Ridley, dragon, pirate Ridley kind of thing, and then Meta Ridley happens at least every once in a while. So yeah, there you go. So Meta Ridley, like a transformation, make it limited for like a minute. He just gets upgrading speed and agility and attack damage. There you go. So yeah, that's how I see his moveset. So the smash attacks will focus on him hitting you with his tail and his claws. His special attacks will focus on the flames that come out of his mouth. You can charge up to do fireballs, and then charge up for flames, and like flapping his wings to catch you and hit you and damage, and maybe fly you up in the air or send you flying backwards or something, or fly across the stage and he runs into you. And final smash should be Meta Ridley. You could probably think of other things too, but I think Meta Ridley's kind of become so important to his character now that if he ever got into Smash Bros., that should really be his final smash. Now it's all for the percentage chances, and this entire video is going to be me talking about why he deserves to be in, him being so hyped up and him being so high up that he really deserves it. But my percentage for him is actually kind of low, and I'm giving him a 70%, which is the lowest I think I've given a character. It's even lower than Dixie Kong at this point. And the reason is, and I'm sorry I have to bring this up, it is his size. He is relevant and super popular, super important to the Metroid series. If we got a second Metroid character, it should be him. It really, really should be Ridley, because of how important he is to the series and how utilized he is in the series. But his size differences in the game and how large he is hurts his character chance a lot. It really does. He's the most deserving of it, but if we ever got a second Metroid character, I feel they're going to pick someone else, because the size difference won't hurt them as much as it hurts him. And I know people say, oh, there's some versions of him, like the original Metroid, where he's about this a little bit larger than Samus. But that's the thing, though. That's the original Metroid from the 80s. Since then, they've doubled, tripled, quadrupled his size, where he's huge compared to Samus. A lot of his recent appearances in Other M, which is very noticeable because they picked that version of his stage and him as the stage hazard in Smash Bros. 4. You know, Return of Samus, the Metroid Prime games, he is huge. He's at least semi-bigger. I mean, at least in Return of Samus's case on a 3DS, he's at least a little bit smaller, so it's maybe a little bit more, possible that they might choose that variation on him with a little bit metal, enhancements on him and stuff like that. And that may be the variation they go for Return of Samus on 3DS version of Ridley, if they ever decide to put him in at this point, because besides Metroid Prime 4, which we haven't seen anything of, that's the most recent appearance of him, and they usually go for most recent appearances. The size is going to hurt him. I'm sorry. He still has a chance if they decide to somehow resize him to the point where it makes sense, but resizing can only go so far, people. And I know everyone and their mothers want Ridley in the game. I have been in the Smash community for so long. I've always seen people requesting and wanting Ridley. But I do think the size is hurting him a lot. And even Sakurai has said that. So while he's still iconic enough and popular enough and relevant enough to the series, the size took off like 30%, and that's a lot because it's hurt him from getting in Smash 4, and apparently it's hurt him from getting in Brawl as well. He was a boss there, stage hazard in 4. That's pretty much where he really should be, and I know a lot of people want him, but for the foreseeable future, I don't see Ridley getting in the Smash Bros. Until we get a variation on him that's not, that could be resized to the point where it's at least not super huge. And I'm sorry, but I'm giving him a 70%. As much as I've just been hyping him up this entire video about he makes sense, I'm giving him a 70%, and that 30% comes off of because of his size. And I know a lot of people have been trying to say, oh, that doesn't affect him at all. They've resized Olimar, they've resized Bowser, but it's like those characters at least don't seem to be that different if you resize them, even though like Olimar's the size of a penny. I know, but like Ridley is like the size of a huge, humongous freaking dragon. It'd be so weird if he's the size of like Samus and Marth and Little Mac and all that now, even just a little bit bigger, like the size of a Ganondorf even. I'm sorry, I'm giving him a 70%. He stands a chance because he's in reach. He's still relevant enough to the series and utilized enough in the series and has the history with the series. He's in Return of Samus, and he might be in Metroid Prime 4, but the size does hurt him. And that is it for my number 6 character in Ridley. Hope you guys like this video. Put in the comment section what you think. Do you guys like this moveset? Do you guys think he's relevant enough? Do you think Ridley deserves to be in the series? What do you think my percentage chances? What do you think the size of his character really impacts him in the games? And put in the comments what you would do for a moveset. There you go. That's my 6th character, and stay tuned for the 7th character, which is going to be not a specific character, but a certain character from a franchise that pretty much always gets a newcomer. And it's a character from the future game that we have yet to see yet. My name is Sniper's Fun. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to, and stay tuned for the next character and any other future videos from me. See you all later. Bye.